Chapter 3. Auspicious examples of blessings from abstaining from lust. During the reign of Emperor Xuandi of the Ming dynasty, there lived a man named Count I, who began his career as a minor official. Once, while pursuing bandits, he came upon a most beautiful young maiden in a roadside post station. The maiden offered herself to him, but Cao immediately told her, "You are a virgin, I cannot violate you." He then took out a piece of paper, wrote upon it the words "Count, I shall not," and burned the paper as a warning to himself. The next day, he summoned the maiden's mother and had her daughter return home. Later, Cao traveled to the capital to take the imperial examinations. During the exam, a sheet of paper suddenly floated down from the sky and landed on his desk. On it were written the very words, "Count, I shall not." Instantly, Cao's mind became exceptionally clear and his literary inspiration flowed abundantly. As a result, he achieved the rank of Shoukang Baojian top scholar and was appointed to high office. This shows that one who abstains from lust shall surely receive blessings from heaven. In Zhejiang province, there was a candidate named Chen who traveled to the capital for the examinations. The chief examiner, finding Chen's essay unsatisfactory, was about to discard it when he heard a voice at his ear crying, "Do not." Startled, he read the essay again, but still found it poor and prepared to reject it once more. Again he heard the cry, "Do not." Puzzled, he reviewed it a third time, yet still found it unworthy of acceptance. Just as he resolved to set it aside, a loud voice shouted repeatedly the word, "Do not," is the hardest of all. The examiner thought to himself, this candidate must have accumulated great hidden virtue. Otherwise, why such portents? So he admitted Chen. After the results were announced, Chen returned home in triumph and told his father the story. His father replied, "That was something I did in my prime. I never imagined that heaven would reward my single thought of goodness by blessing my son with honor." It turned out that in his younger days, Chen's father had been a physician who treated a poor, critically ill man free of charge. Later, while taking shelter from rain at that man's home, the family, wishing to repay him, sent their young daughter-in-law to his bed. The father was tempted by her beauty but restrained himself, saying, "Do not." When she persisted, he said again, "Do not. Do not." Overcome by the difficulty of his struggle, he shouted aloud. The word, "Do not," is the hardest of all, and kept himself chaste until dawn, when he immediately departed. His benevolence, his refusal of lust, and his lack of expectation for reward moved heaven, which bestowed upon his descendants the blessing of honor and rank. Feng Zheng, a renowned chancellor of the Song dynasty, was the son of Feng Sheng. In his prime, Feng Sheng had no son, so his wife urged him to take a concubine. While passing through the capital, he bought a maid and asked her where she came from. The girl wept and said that her father had sold her to pay off debts. Moved by compassion, Feng Sheng returned the girl to her father without asking for repayment of the purchase price. When he came home, his wife asked why he had not brought a concubine. He told her the whole story. His wife replied with such a kind heart and hidden virtue, "You need not worry about having no son." Within months, she became pregnant. On the evening of the birth, the neighbors all saw a procession of drummers and musicians, escorting a Shoukang Baojian to the Feng household. That very evening, a son was born and named Feng Jin. He grew up to become Shoukang Baojian and served as chancellor for several reigns. This shows how greatly heaven rewards those who cultivate virtue and abstain from lust. In Wuxi Jiangsu, during the Ming dynasty, a man named Sun Zhaigao was employed as a tutor in a wealthy household. One day, the master's wife sent a maid to offer him tea, in which a gold ring had been placed. Sun pretended not to notice and sent the cup back. That night the servant knocked at his door, saying the mistress had come. Sun quickly barred the door with a heavy plank and refused to open it. The next day, he resigned and returned home. When asked why he left, he refused to reveal the family's shame, merely saying that the students were unteachable. Later, Sun went to the capital, passed the examinations with top honors, and his descendants also became high officials. This proves that those who refuse lust and conceal others' faults, possessing both virtue and compassion, shall receive good reward. In Wenzhou, the father of Zhu Zhuan was poor in his middle years with many children. A wealthy neighbor, who had no sons, sent his concubine to Zhu's father one night, inviting him to drink. The host pretended to be drunk and withdrew, leaving his concubine to entice Zhu. Zhu was astonished and tried to leave, but the door was locked. He then traced in the air the words to seek the art of passing on seed. I fear to startle the gods above. Having written thus, he turned his face to the wall and would not look upon the concubine. 20 years later, his son Zhu Zhuan attained the Juren degree. The prefect dreamed that he was welcoming the new Shoukang Yuan, whose banner bore the same words to seek the art of passing on seed. I fear to startle the gods above. The prefect did not understand the dream. When Zhu Zhuan indeed became Shoukang Yuan, the prefect came to congratulate him and related his dream. Zhu's father said that was what I traced in the air 20 years ago. But he kept the matter secret all his life, never revealing the neighbor's private affairs. In Piling, there lived an old man named Qian, who with his wife had no children. A villager named Yu, overwhelmed by debt and with his wife and daughter suffering from cold and hunger, came to borrow money from Qian. Qian gave him the full amount without requiring a promissory note. Later, the Yu family came to thank him, bringing their daughter. Qian's wife wished to take the girl as a concubine to bear a son, and the Yus were willing. But Qian said to take advantage of another's difficulty is unkind. To give aid with the intention of exacting sexual favors is unjust. I would rather remain childless and violate this principle. That night Qian's wife dreamed of a heavenly spirit who told her your husband has saved others and relieved the poor without taking advantage of a woman. His hidden virtue is deep. You shall be given a noble son. The next year, though advanced in age, she gave birth to a son named Tianci Heaven's gift. By 18, he had passed all the imperial examinations and rose to the rank of censor. In Guin, Shentong was poor. His cousin recommended him as a tutor to a widow's family. One night, the widow attempted to seduce him, but Shen sternly refused. The next day, he resigned and went home. Fearing that her lack of chastity might be exposed, the widow sent rich gifts and urged Shen's cousin to invite him back. Shen resolutely refused. When asked why, he never revealed the widow's misconduct, merely saying it was inconvenient. The following year Shen passed the examinations in succession and rose to the rank of governor. Wang Zihiren, a merchant from Anhui, was 30 years old and had no son. A fortunchuler told him he would face a great disaster in the 10th month and would not easily escape. Wang, trusting the seer's accuracy, hurried to Suzhou to collect payments and return to his lodging. That evening, while walking by the river, he saw a woman throw herself into the water. Wang immediately offered 10 gold pieces to a fisherman to rescue her. He asked why she had attempted suicide. She replied, "My family raises pigs to pay the rent, and my husband works as a laborer. Yesterday I sold a pig and received counterfeit silver. I fear my husband will blame me when he returns, and I cannot bear to live." When the woman went home and told her husband, he did not believe her and suspected illicit relations with Wang. That night, he brought his wife to Wang's lodging to confront him. Wang was already asleep. The woman knocked and called, "The drowning woman has come to thank you." Wang replied sternly, "You are a young married woman, I am a traveling merchant, alone. How can we meet in the dead of night?" Hearing this, the husband's suspicion vanished. He said in awe, "We have both come to thank you." Only then did Wang put on his clothes and open the door. As he stepped out, the wall behind him collapsed, crushing the bed where he had been lying. Thus Wang escaped death. Later, Wang returned to Anhui. The fortunchuler, seeing him, exclaimed, "Your face is covered with marks of hidden virtue. You must have saved a life recently. Your future blessings will be boundless." Indeed, Wang later fathered 11 sons and lived to the age of 96 in robust health. Yan Shuzong of Xinjin in the Song dynasty, before attaining official rank, served as a tutor in a wealthy family in Chengdu. The master had a beautiful concubine who, confident in her charms, attempted to seduce Yang. He sternly refused. That night Yang's wife in his hometown dreamed of a spirit who said, "Your husband is far from home." Yet he does not deceive in the dark and refuses another man's concubine. He shall be granted first place in the examinations, to manifest the reward of virtue. The next year, Yang indeed came first in the Sichuan provincial examinations. Cheng Xiaoyan of Haizu lived by a stream with a narrow wooden bridge. A young woman, crossing to visit relatives, fell into the water. Cheng had her rescued and his wife dry her clothes. As dusk fell and she could not return home, Cheng had his wife stay with her overnight. The next day, he sent her home. The woman was already betrothed, but her future in-laws, hearing she had stayed overnight in a stranger's house, suspected she was no longer a virgin and called off the engagement. Cheng personally went to their home, explained the circumstances in detail, and vouched for her purity. Thus the marriage was completed. Less than a year later, the husband died young, and the widow raised their son alone, teaching him to read. Often, by lamplight she wept and told her son, "If you ever achieve success, do not forget Cheng Xiaoyan's kindness." The son passed the provincial examinations while still young. Later, in the capital for the national examinations, he wrote an essay he was satisfied with, but then burst into tears. Cheng, in the adjacent examination booth, asked why. The young man replied, "I wrote 7 excellent essays, but the lamp burned them all. I am sure to fail." Cheng said, "What a pity. If you give them to me and I pass, I shall surely repay you." The young man gave him the essays, and Cheng passed. After the results, the young man visited Cheng and asked what hidden virtue he had performed. Under persistent questioning, Cheng recounted how he had once saved a woman from drowning. The young man knelt and said, "That woman is my mother. You saved her life and preserved her chastity. You are my mother's great benefactor. How dare I seek repayment?" He told Cheng of his mother's constant reminders and treated Cheng as his teacher. The two families intermarried for generations. Lin Zhangzi of Wenzhou was a devout Buddhist who kept the precepts. One night he dreamed of seeing the heavenly roster of examination candidates. His name was 10th with 6 words beneath reward for not killing and not lusting. Later, when he took the national examinations, he indeed placed 10th. He Cheng was a famous physician, and in long ill invited he to treat him. The patient's wife told he that they had pawned all their valuables for medicine and offered her body as payment. He said gravely, "Rest assured, I shall treat your husband free of charge. But do not disgrace yourself nor me." She withdrew in shame and gratitude. That night he dreamed of a deity who said, "You practice medicine skillfully, and do not take advantage of others, distressed to commit lust. By heaven's decree, you shall be granted office in 50,000 coins." Not long after, the empress fell ill and summoned he to the palace. One dose cured her, and the court awarded him rank and wealth exactly as in the dream. Zhorqian of the Ming dynasty, in his youth, taught in a family in Piling. The master's daughter, while her parents were away, attempted to elope with him. He admonished her. For an unmarried woman to lose her chastity brings lifelong shame to herself and disgrace to her family. He sternly refused and resigned the next day. Later, Zi became Shoukang Yuan, served as chancellor, and his sons Yibai also became a high official. In Zhenzhen, an old man named Jun, over 50 and childless, had a beautiful neighbor. His wife secretly pawned her jewelry and bought the girl to be his concubine. That night, she told him, "I am old and have not borne you a child. I have bought this neighbor's daughter to continue the Jin line." From lowered his head in shame. His wife, to spare him embarrassment, left and tried to lock the door from outside. But Jin pushed it open and said, "Though your intention is good, I have known this girl since childhood. I hope she may marry well and find happiness. I'm old and sickly, I cannot defile her and ruin her life." He sent the girl back. This act of virtue moved heaven. The following year, Jin's wife became pregnant and gave birth to Wenxi, who at 17 became Zhou Yuan top provincial graduate. At 18 a Jin she metropolitan graduate, and later a virtuous chancellor. a student named Cao from Songjiang. Taking the examinations, lodged in a private home, one night, a woman suddenly came to him. Cao fled in alarm and sought lodging elsewhere. On the way, he saw a procession of lanterns and followed it into an old temple, where he heard a roll call of the new examination list. When the sixth name was called, an official reported this candidate was originally sixth, but recently committed an offense and has been struck off by heaven. Who shall replace him? The presiding deity said Cao of Songjiang, refused a married woman and displayed uprightness, shall take his place. Cao, startled yet overjoyed, later found that he had indeed placed sixth. Lin Maojian of X, Ihenju, learned but poor, studied behind closed doors. A wealthy neighbor, disgusted with her unlearned husband, admired Lin's talent and came to him one night. Lin rebuked her. Men and women have their proper bounds. To seek a secret meeting violates propriety. Moreover, the world is filled with spirits. How dare you seek to defile me? The woman withdrew in shame. The next year Lin passed the Jinshi examinations, became an official, and his 3 sons also became Jinshi, bringing honor to the family. During the Qing dynasty, Mr. Yuan of Shaanxi, separated from his family by bandits, settled alone in Jiangnan and wished to buy a concubine to bear a son. He purchased a young woman, who wept by the lamplight. When asked, she said, "My family was so poor we could not eat. My husband contemplated suicide, so I sold myself so he might live. Now, I grieve for our love." Yuan sat through the night. The next day, he returned her to her husband, gave them the purchase price, and added 100 gold pieces for their livelihood. The couple wept in gratitude. Later they sought to buy a girl for Yuan as repayment. In Yangzhou, they found a boy servant and sent him to Yuan. When Yuan saw the boy, he recognized his own long-lost son. Thus karmic reward was manifest. Tang Gao, studying by lamplight as a youth, had a woman ere through his paper window to entice him. He patched the hole and rotator in paper window, is easily mended, but hidden virtue once damaged is hardest to repair. He cultivated virtue and restrained lust. Later, he achieved the highest honors in the examinations. Zhang Weiyan of Jianzhan, and the Ming dynasty, dreamed of entering a great hall and examining the roster of successful candidates. Many names were missing. He asked why, and was told, "This is the roster for this year's examinations. Only those who have accumulated 3 years of hidden virtue without offense are listed. The blank spaces are for those originally listed but whose names were recently struck off for new sins." A guide pointed to a blank and said, "You have never committed any lustful offense. Perhaps this vacancy may be yours. Treasure your virtue." Zhang indeed placed 105th in that year's examinations. In Ningbo there was a poor man named Sun who worked as a copyist in the Zhang family school. A maidservant came to him at night. He refused. She then went to another tutor and committed lust with him. At the Dragon Boat Festival, the tutor's boils festered and he could not teach, so Sun took his place. Later, Sun met his uncle, who said, "Last night I saw the city god order the ghostly registrar to amend the death list for famine." The registrar said, Sun was destined to starve to death at 46 abroad, but this year he refused a maidservant's advances. His life shall be extended by 24 years, his name removed from the famine list and placed in the register of blessings. When Sun was 46, famine struck and many starved, but his household was well supplied. He lived to 70 and died without illness. Tao Wen Xi, handsome in youth, at 17 took the provincial examinations and lodged in a private home. A neighbor's daughter approached him 3 times. Each time he refused and moved elsewhere. The night before he came, the owner of the new lodging dreamed that a deity said, "Tomorrow a scholar named Tao will stay here. Evan, seeing his firm resolve and refusal to defile a woman, shall grant him one of the top 3 ranks." The next day arrived, and the owner told him his dream. Tao redoubled his virtue and studies, and indeed placed second in the national examinations, becoming a high minister. Shi Bangmei's father, a military officer in Zhengzhou, had no son at 60. His wife urged him to take a concubine, He bought one and noticed she wore a white mourning band. She said, "My father died, and I was escorting his coffin here. When funds ran out, I sold myself to bury him." Moved, she returned her to her mother and gave them traveling expenses. He told his wife, who said, "You have saved someone in distress without taking advantage. Your hidden virtue is great." Soon she became pregnant. One night, she dreamed of a golden figure seated in the hall. At dawn she gave birth to Shoukang Mei, who grew up to become Shoukang Yuan and Minister of Personnel. In the reign of Emperor Shenzong of Ming, Zhao served as a clerk. He indicated a military commander falsely imprisoned. The commander wished to give him his daughter as a concubine in gratitude. Zhao waved his hand, saying, "I cannot." When pressed, he waved again, repeatedly refusing. Later, Zhao's son Zhao Bingzong, traveling by sedan to the examinations, heard a voice at the sedan saying, "He who said, 'I cannot,' shall be Shoukang Yuan." Several times the voice repeated this. Indeed, Zhao Bingzong placed first in the Wuzhou year examinations. When he told his father, the elder Zhao sighed, "That was my doing 20 years ago. I never told anyone." "What spirit told you?" At the North New Pass in Han House, a customs official named Gu, on official business southward, moored his boat by the Suzhou River for the night. He saw a young woman about to drown herself. He stopped her and asked why. She said, "My husband is in prison for unpaid taxes and faces death. I cannot bear to see him die first." Gu gave her 50 gold pieces to save her family. She thanked him and left. On his return, he stopped at an inn opposite her home. She recognized him and invited him in, her husband hosting him with wine. The husband told his wife he saved her lives. "We were too poor to repay. Tonight you should serve him in bed." That night, she came to his room, but Gu refused and fled back to his boat. That same night, a great fire broke out in Han House, destroying dozens of homes. But one house alone remained untouched. The crowd saw a golden armored deity with a red flag circling that house, deflecting the flames. It was Gu's home. Everyone said that Gu must have performed great hidden virtue to merit such a miracle. Lun of the Ming dynasty, traveling to the capital for examinations, passed through Suzhou. He dreamed of Fan Zongyan, who told him, "You shall be Shoukang Yuan next year." Luo humbly demurred. Fan replied, "You once refused a woman's advances. Your virtue is high and has moved the Celestial Supreme. I have come to tell you this." Luo indeed placed first in the palace examinations. In Yunzheng, Mo went on Ji, a farmer by generations, as charitable. One day, with 20 gold pieces to buy rice seed, he saw 2 men binding a young woman, preparing to throw her into the river. He asked why. They said, "She is our master's daughter, suspected of illicit relations. He ordered us to drown her." Mo said, "She is young and unwise and the matter is unproven. If you release her, I will give you 20 gold. She was saved. The girl knelt to become his servant, but Mo said, "I do not seek your beauty. I pity your youth. It is late, go to a house with lights." That night, he dreamed of a deity who said, "You have saved a life. Heaven shall give you noble descendants." Indeed, his son became an official, his grandson placed second in provincial examinations, and his great-grandsons and descendants held high office for generations. In Han House, a student named Li took shelter from rain in an abandoned house. A young woman was already there. Li remained outside until dawn, when she returned home and told her husband Wang. He suspected her and cast her out. Later, during the provincial examinations, Liu's essay, originally rejected, appeared on the examiner's desk. The examiner, puzzled, found it poorly written and set it aside, but it reappeared. Deeming that Liu must have hidden virtue, he included him as 71st. Wang, who also passed, heard the examiner's explanation. Wang, ashamed of his suspicion, welcomed his wife back and gave his sister to Liu in marriage. In Taikan, Guzuo pleaded for a wrongly imprisoned woman, Jiang, and secured her release. Her family offered her as his concubine. Gu refused. Later, Gu served in a ministry, visiting an official's residence. He was recognized by the official's wife, none other than Zhang. She had been adopted by a merchant and later married the official. She told her husband of Gu's kindness, and the official reported it to the emperor. Gu was promoted to high office. In the Shunzi age reign of King, a man praying at the city god temple slept there. At midnight, he saw the city god appear and say, "Do you know why Zhu has become Shoukang Yuan? His family for generations has never committed lust and has accumulated hidden virtue. This is only the beginning of their prosperity. Karmic retribution is clear. Spread this to the world." The man recorded it. Zhu's descendants indeed passed the Jinshi examinations for generations, and a family flourished. Mao Qizong of the Ming dynasty from youth recited the scripture of the great High Lord in the provincial examinations. He wrote with divine inspiration and passed. Returning from the capital, he vowed to add commentaries to the scripture. He especially annotated the lines upon seeing another's beauty, harbor a private desire with cases of retribution for lust, to warn others. Alwo Xianyu of Nanchang assisted him. Alwo dreamed of 3 immortals. An old immortal ordered a young attendant to recite Mao's annotations, and another to chant a poem. He who seeks the laurel in the moon's palace must trust that 3,000 forms of beauty are but emptiness. See through the world's deluding eyes, and a roll of honor shall bloom through the city. The poem meant that Mao, by warning others against lust, would gain honor. Indeed, Mao passed the Jinshi examinations. De Renji, a renowned Tang chancellor, was handsome in youth. While staying at an inn in the capital, the young widow who owned it made advances. He paused, then calmed himself and said, "I was momentarily tempted, but I recalled amongst eaching on subduing lust. He told me to contemplate the object of desire as if deathly ill, withered, hollow-eyed, then decaying, festering, covered with pus and maggots. Do the same." The widow did so, wept, and thanked him. "You have preserved my chastity and taught me to purify my mind." She kept her widow's vow and was honored. Dai became Shoukang Yuan, chancellor, and a great statesman who promoted morality. Zhao Yuan of Yunzhong, sickly from youth, compiled and distributed the impermissible record to warn against lust. As soon as the book was printed, his chronic illness vanished, and his descendants prospered. Wang Sheng'an of the Song dynasty and his cousin Shun were neighbors. Shun was lustful, and Wang often advised him, but in vain. Shen sent maids to seduce Wang, but he refused. Once, they were attacked by bandits. Shen escaped in a small boat, but Wang's boat was intercepted, yet lightning and thunder frightened the bandits away, and Wang returned safely. Later, Shen home to find his wife with another man. Enraged, he tried to strike them, but his hands were paralyzed. He died in fury. Wang, at 50, fell ill. A Taoist priest conducting ritual reported your lifespan was only 50. But heaven, seeing you refuse lust twice and exhort others, has added 36 years. Wang recovered and lived to Itexus, seeing his descendants prosper. A scholar from Jikasing, failing repeatedly in examinations, always warned others against lustful talk. He wrote admonitions on the sin of speech to teach abstinence from such talk. 1 year before the results, he dreamed his father said, "In a past life, you passed young but were arrogant. Heaven punished you with repeated failure, and now, because of your admonitions, the Wensheng God has recommended you. The results shall be good." It came true and he became a censor. At the end of the Song dynasty, during the Mongol invasion, a beautiful woman named Wang was captured. Her in-laws and husband were killed. A commander sought to possess her. She pretended to agree on condition of a month's mourning. During the march at Kingfang Ridge, she bit her finger and wrote a poem of chastity in blood on a rock, then leapt to her death. The blood marks remain visible to this day. The poet Yang Lianfu wrote a slanderous poem about her and remained childless. He dreamed of the woman who warned him of retribution. He repented, wrote a poem in her praise, and later fathered a son. Bao Hongxue of the Song dynasty at 88 was Heilun served as a high minister. At a banquet, Prime Minister Jia Saidao asked his secret to longevity. Bao said, "I have a secret formula. 50 years of sleeping alone. All laughed, but admired his virtue. He remained vigorous into old age. Quang Zhaiyuan of the Ming dynasty suffered from mental confusion. An old monk told him illness of mind comes from delusions. Cut them off at their source. Your illness arises from excess lust, external lust in deeds and internal lust in thoughts. To recover, abstain physically and purify mentally. Quang followed this, curbing lust and desires, and recovered fully. In Hanghouse, a centenarian, still radiant, told Prefect Pu, my secret is simply that I cut off lust early. And Zhang Kui of Taikang, painting clearly at 90, said I only learned to moderate lust early.